Fallout 4's weapon modification system is a vast improvement over what was offered in Fallout 3 and New Vegas, but I always thought that some of the weapons felt too similar, like the combat rifle and the combat shotgun. There is a way to avoid that problem though. Can you beat Fallout 4 by only using each weapon once? This run requires a bit more explanation than some of my previous challenges. The general idea is that you can only get a single kill with a weapon, and then you can never use that weapon again. And by weapon, I mean the platform, I guess. The Deliverer and a normal suppressed 10mm pistol are both 10mm pistols, so I can only use one of them. Variants and modifications don't change what the weapon is. Standard firearms will operate as previously described. It doesn't matter if it takes 500 shots from a minigun to kill a Deathclaw, or if it takes 1 to kill a Radroach. After I get a kill with it, it might as well not exist. Melee and unarmed weapons work the same way. 1 kill. Explosive weapons are different. They have an area of effect, so instead of 1 kill, I get 1 shot. I can throw 1 frag grenade. I can fire the Fat Man 1 time. I can use 1 cryo mine. You get the idea. Understand the rules? No? Too bad, we're moving forwards anyway. Because we'll be using every sort of weapon available, special isn't all that important. I put 6 points into intelligence to level up faster, and just sorta spread out the rest somewhat evenly. Then Adam bestowed on mankind a small fraction of his love and power. Nate died, and I emerged from my frozen slumber. From here on out, every enemy encounter requires thought and planning. I can't just kill every enemy I see, because I'd have no weapons left for the endgame. Luckily, you can escape Vault 111 without killing any of the Radroaches by trapping them behind the sliding doors. Out into the wasteland, my first stop was Sanctuary to put another point into intelligence, talk to Codsworth, and get him to kill all the bloatflies pestering the neighborhood. I passed by Red Rock Truck Stop, looted some stuff, and ignored Dogmeat because using a companion would take away some of the challenge. In Concord, I sat back and waited for Preston to kill the raiders attempting to get into the Museum of Freedom. After waiting for about 11 seconds, I got bored and started attacking them myself. I used my fist to kill one raider and got a switchblade from him. By the time I was done fisting the man, Preston had dealt with the others. I tried to skip part of this quest by jumping from the roof of a church to the crashed vertibird atop the Museum of Freedom, but I forgot that there's another door between the door to the roof and where the Minutemen are hiding. So I waited for a while. I sat there, motionless, like a lamp, for about 6 minutes. Turns out Preston truly is worthless, because I did more with one Molotov cocktail in a few seconds than he did with a laser musket in a few minutes. I then used a switchblade to kill one raider, brass knuckles to kill another, a tire iron to kill a third, and I killed the last raider with a security baton. Before talking to Preston, I went and got the power armor because I wanted to know if there's any special dialogue if you show up in the power armor. And there is. Neat. Next, I had to deal with all the raiders outside. Rather than wasting a bunch of weapons, I lured the Deathclaw out of its sewer and got it to do my dirty work for me. There was one raider inside a building that neither the Deathclaw or Preston could reach, so I used a pipe pistol to kill the bitch. After the Deathclaw had its fun, it was time to put my old buddy down, but using a weapon to kill a Deathclaw felt like a waste. So, I spent several minutes taunting it from inside a building where it couldn't get me. It would be focused on me, while Preston missed 90% of the shots he took. The claw did manage to get inside the building once, which was pretty spooky. Quite a while later, the beast was dead, Preston thanked me, and I was off to Diamond City. Along the way, I interrupted a stroganoff at Drumlin Diner, got Wolfgang to pay me, convinced him that I was going to handle the poor souls inside, then did the old switcheroo by siding with Trudy and getting her to open fire. She won, I had a few corpses to add to my collection, I sold some stuff that I didn't need, and continued marching towards Diamond City. I took the long way to Diamond City, like the really long way. I probably discovered a dozen locations on my travels to the big field. I think I was looking for something, but to be perfectly honest, I don't remember what it was, or if I was actually searching for anything in the first place. Let's just say that I was, and that I didn't find it. After about 30 minutes of lonely wandering, I arrived at Diamond City, bullshitted my way through Piper's interview to get some easy experience, picked up trash for a Make-A-Wish kid, talked to Ellie, bought an assortment of weapons from Arturo, and was off to rescue Nick Valentine. And this is where things started getting challenging. You can technically enter the vault without killing the Triggermen, but you'd need to have planned ahead and gone for a stealth build. I didn't, which is very bad. I tried hiding and waiting, but they found me. What this means is that I'll have to kill them all. First I used a baseball bat, then a 10mm pistol, then a submachine gun I picked up off a corpse, and by that point the triggermen closer to the subway station entrance weren't interested in fucking with me, so I entered the vault and ran past all the triggermen inside. When I approached Nick, I pulled out a double-barrel shotgun and painted the floor with Dino's blood. But everything has to be a fucking nightmare, because for whatever reason, I couldn't talk to Nick. Probably due to the 2 triggermen nearby, which quickly became like 6 triggermen. I really should have played Elmo's number journey before I did this. Then the triggermen entered the room and, guess what? Nick couldn't give any less of a fuck about anything. Like a stuffed animal being tortured, he just stood there and took it. I managed to take out a few of them with a lucky grenade throw, and, after a few attempts, I got another one with the laser musket. By now I was laughably low on supplies. I've got drugs and fruit. Awesome. The upside is that Nick is finally awake and can fight. The next, 4 minutes consisted of me running around avoiding gunfire while waiting for Nick to regain consciousness. Then I remembered my old cheese technique, where you enter a new area while a companion is unconscious to make them wake up. I did that for a while, then ran past all the triggermen until I got to the door that wouldn't open. Nick must open it. So I sat and waited for Nick to mosey his way up to where I was. If I was smart, I would have snagged a missile launcher before I got myself in this mess. But I didn't, which means I have no way of dealing with Skinny Malone. If I had an IQ that was in the double digits, I would have tried to convince Skinny to let me leave peacefully. Instead, I ran past them to the surface. And wouldn't you know it, Nick followed me and then he went back down. This is where things got really annoying. Skinny Malone must be dealt with, which, in my case, means that Nick Valentine must kill them because I'm essentially a wet noodle with hands. I did try fast traveling to Diamond City, hoping that Nick would be there, but he wasn't. I then tried running into the fray to get Nick to follow me to the surface. That worked, until Nick ran the wrong fucking way! I've wasted far too much time talking about this goddamn shit show. I'll jump to the end and tell you that it took a long time to get Nick to kill the remaining triggermen, allowing me to finally progress the story by explaining my situation to Nick in Diamond City. The door to Kellogg's house was locked, so I convinced the mayor to give me the key, looted Kellogg's house, traveled to Fort Hagen, went back to the Museum of Freedom for my power armor, talked to Dogmeat, and entered Fort Hagen. The power armor and stim packs I'd stocked up on allowed me to plow through all the synths without actually attacking any of them. I used a minigun to kill Kellogg, skimmed through his terminal, ignored the remaining synths, watched the Pridwin arrive in the Commonwealth, talked to Nick and Piper, then went to Sanctuary to meet with Preston so that I'd be able to use the workbench there and store all my useless crap there. From there, I entered Good Neighbor, stole a Fat Man, talked to Dr. Umari, entered Kellogg's Frosted Memories, and began the process of making my way to Virgil's cave in the glowing sea. I ditched my power armor because I had plenty of Rad-X and Radaway, and because I only had a little energy left in the soul fusion core I had. I avoided all the scary monsters in the Green Sea, convinced Virgil to help me, picked up my power armor, and went to Green Tech Genetics to kill me a Courser. Just like in Fort Hagen, I ignored the gunners shooting at me and saved my rage for the Courser. I didn't have much to choose from, so I beat the Courser to death with a dull Chinese officer's sword. I then sold some stuff to Cleo, spoke to Dr. Amari again, and entered the Old North Church. The ghouls in the basement proved to be a challenge the first time around, so I reloaded a save, used a stealth boy, and met Desdemona. I save scummed until I passed the charisma checks, got the Courser chip analyzed, returned to Virgil to get his plans, did some secret handshake shit with Deacon, and entered the switchboard. This was another situation that could have benefited from any planning at all. I let Deacon fight the turrets and the synths in the first section, but he's a pussy and couldn't handle it. I'm a pussy too, so I ran past the synths, activated a turret that I thought would be much more effective than it was, hacked the door, and got myself into a bit of a pickle. See, I need to wait for Deacon to regain his composure and help me, but I can't do that with all these synths attacking me. Praise be to Todd Howard, I had a bottle cap mine that I could use to take out every synth in the room. There were still more on the prowl, but I was able to use a stealth boy to sit in a corner and wait for a while. After about 8 minutes of nothing, I went to check on Deacon, and he was there as my savior like the Daniel Radcliffe Lord of the Rings guy. Anyway, I waited a little longer. Deacon opened the door. I got the deliverer, which is pretty much worthless. Let the synths torture Deacon for a while, fled from the switchboard, and reported back to Desdemona. The time has now come to get inside the Institute. I dropped off some stuff at Sanctuary and went to the build site. The issue here is that there are some baddies that need to go, but I can't afford to use my few remaining weapons on the assortment of ghouls and radroaches in the area. There is a Mr. Handy on site though, so I was able to lure the enemies into him and let him kill them. Then I got the machine built, faxed myself inside the Institute, talked to Father, talked to the division bigwigs, and began life as an underground agent by planting the seeds of revolution, thanks in part to a guy named Liam. Liam, what a dumb name. Like any tree hugger, I care for my plants, which is why I needed to get a password to use as fertilizer? You know what, this plant analogy was never funny to begin with. I traveled to Cambridge Polymer Labs to find a password somewhere within its partially collapsed walls. I spent more time in there than I should have, and used an Institute pistol, one of my last ranged weapons, before I got the code and returned to Desdemona again. My next objective was to speak to Z-114, who told me to take out a few guards in order to aid the robot revolution. This time, I prepared, and used a missile launcher and some psycho to take out all 5 synths with one shot. Finally, something worked out in my favor. I continued working undercover, walked along the ocean floor in a power armor suit, got fucked hard by either a fat man or a missile launcher, used a recall code on a synth, let the courser deal with all the unpleasantness in the area, and returned to Father to let him ejaculate his praise all over his mother. That's kind of a weird thing to say. The Battle of Bunker Hill has arrived. I avoided all the enemies and rude people by hopping on the fence and running straight for the hostages in the basement. I did climb the stairs to the pointy tower thing to fall through the sky in hopes that I could either land on the vertibird or on a person on the ground and turn them into paste. Didn't work. What did work, though, was informing the synths that they're free. Father didn't like that, but who cares what he thinks? In fact, fuck my kids. Back inside the Institute, Father revealed that he's dying, and I was tasked with getting the beryllium agitator from mass fusion. Thanks to my power armor, I was able to fall a great distance and skip a lot of the fighting with the Brotherhood of Steel. After I got the agitator, there was a new problem: the sentry bots and assaultrons. I managed to take out one of the sentry bots with a pipe wrench, with some help from Lady Fillmore, who also took out the protectron. The assaultrons fell on me though. I used an assault rifle to kill one, a combat rifle to kill a protectron, and a sledgehammer to kill the last assaultron. And I just want to say that I still really hate melee combat in Fallout 4. From there, I returned to Father, who told me that some nerd is being a stubborn little loser and locked himself inside a closet. I used a pulse grenade and a synth relay grenade to kill the gunners outside the house, and ended up having to use Kellogg's pistol to take out the last gunner. I convinced Wallace to go to the Institute and formed the Commonwealth of the Institute's position as their new gods of the wasteland, upgraded the radio in Diamond City, upgraded the Institute's reactor, and was told that I need to wipe out the railroad. I really didn't want to, so I let Desdemona know what Father suggested. Then I pulled another switcheroo by siding with them and using weapons I'd just bought from Tinker Tom to kill Desdemona and her stupid friends. The end of the line is fast approaching. Actually, I just completed that quest, but you know what I mean. All that's left is to defeat the Brotherhood of Steel on their turf. I prepared by going to a cave in the glowing sea to get a fresh suit of power armor. Then I was faxed to the airport and let the final assault begin. There are 3 generators that need to be destroyed. I used a fat man to take out the first one, then a flamer on the second, and for the third, I was a little stuck. I had no weapons. I tried to get the turrets or protectrons to do damage to it by crouching near it, but that didn't work. Then I tried an Institute beacon, which also did not work. There was only one solution, a final solution. I called a timeout, let the Brotherhood go to get ice cream, while I went to Diamond City to buy a syringer from Dr. Sun. Then I went back to the airport, took out the last generator, and had to protect the Institute virus synth while it flooded Liberty Prime with communist propaganda. I'm gonna go ahead and skip a lot of shit and tell you that this really didn't work out very well. It was actually such a disaster that I didn't even touch Fallout 4 for 2 days after I quit the game. The problem was I had no weapons. So I took a step back and examined this whole situation. I scoured the Fallout wiki for every weapon that I could realistically get my hands on, and then I put my plans into action. I went back to when I first arrived at the airport, went to Diamond City to buy a syringer, went to Hubris Comics to get a Grognag axe, and also happened to run into a few ghouls. Then I went to the Museum of Witchcraft because there was supposedly a revolutionary sword stuck somewhere in the ceiling, but I couldn't find it after a few seconds of looking, so I told the Deathclaw I was not in the mood for his shit, returned the Deathclaw egg to its mother, snagged a Deathclaw gauntlet, and went back to Diamond City to buy any more weapons that I hadn't used yet, like a baseball grenade, a cryo grenade, a super sledge, and a swatter. Yeah, I made an executive decision here that a swatter is different from a baseball bat. It's not like the 10mm pistol and the Deliverer, where the Deliverer is a singular, unique weapon. The swatter is its own platform of weapon that's similar to a baseball bat. I laid all my marbles on the table with this plan. It would either work or I would fail the challenge. I took out the first generator with a bolt-action pipe pistol, which is a different weapon from the normal pipe pistol and pipe revolver. Took out the second generator with a syringer, and destroyed the last generator with a flamer. Now I must defend Liberty Prime. I made my way up the stairs to the top of the platform and shot my only mini-nuke down at the Brotherhood soldiers on the ground. Then I got smart and put my power armor right in front of the stairs to block any Brotherhood cum-stains from coming up the right side of the platform. Then I just sorta held out for a while. Things went south after the virus got to 75% and Elder Maxon arrived on the field. My synths had pretty much ran out, and I'd used my last weapon, leaving me defenseless. I parked my power armor as close to the virus's right side as I could to protect it, and I tried to use my body as a shield from atop the platform, but that didn't work. I would have to be a distraction from down below, even though I had no weapons, no power armor, and was running pretty low on healing items. After a few minutes of that not working, I went back up top, got in my power armor, and managed to protect the virus just long enough for it to finish its job. I got the hell out of there, was teleported to safety, watched the Pridwin destroy everything, including my power armor which I ditched to swim away. I went back to the Institute, spoke to Sean one last time, skipped it all because fuck my son, and beat Fallout 4 by only using each weapon once. The fuck was that sound? I'll be real with ya. I thought this was going to be more fun than it was. Once you start using the weapons, you slowly start to realize how there aren't very many distinct weapons in the game as you might have thought. According to my list, I used 45 different weapons throughout this run. And you might be wondering what the point of this run was. Well, I'll tell you. Believe it or not, this entire thing was essentially a practice round for when I attempt to play Fallout 4 without attacking anything. God, that's gonna suck so hard. And that's going to do it for this video about whether or not you can beat Fallout 4 by only using each weapon once. If you enjoyed the video or learned anything, leave a like. Leave a dislike if you didn't enjoy the video or didn't learn anything. Follow me on Twitter @MittenSquad. My name is Paul of Mitten Squad. Have a wonderful day.